Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path. This path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Hey, welcome back, Path listeners, to another episode of the Path Podcast with your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that purpose is bigger than obstacles. Well, Path listeners, as I was thinking about what to talk about this week, everything was confirmed when I heard my sermon on Sunday in church. It was our youth pastor who delivered this message that spoke to everything I was thinking of talking about. His message was so on point, and it had to do with something I mentioned in my very, very first episode when I started this podcast, called How I Learned Not to Count All Obstacles as a Loss, which mostly talked about my divorce and some of the things I went through. But I briefly mentioned how later on, years later, how I was laid off 3 times in 4 years. I do believe it was going into the 5th year, but I always normally said 4 years. When I tell you that is a huge thing, as everyone may or may not know, I hope you never had to have experienced this, but it was huge to me and to anyone, I'm sure, if you've ever gone through anything like this. It started really around 2009, after, the recession of 2008. And it was a job, my very first layoff was the job that I was on for 18 years. And, you never thought about it, even though I was ready to leave, because the career I had planned wasn't sometimes going the way wasn't going the way I envisioned it, because I felt like I should have been in a much higher position than I was. I knew some of the things I wanted to do. And a lot of the things I know I held back a lot because I had my daughter was young at the time. And with some of the positions I wanted, I knew it was going to take a lot of traveling, and not having sometimes that backup or support system there, it was going to be challenging. Her dad definitely in her life and all, but he stayed about 45 minutes away. And for her to be able to go to school, I knew it was going to be a lot. And so women, we know sometimes we sacrifice a lot, because if our children are with us, we hold up on a lot of things. We can't take some positions unless you got a really great support system. Now, let me say this. I had wonderful people in my life that I know would have helped me. I just always was that one who felt like it was my responsibility. And I felt like I didn't want to sacrifice being away from my daughter so much. So some of the decisions also was my decision also. I still thought in that one job I should have been in a much higher position than I was when I left, or when I was laid off, let me say. So yes, this episode is going to be talking about how I navigated that, how you can if you're dealing with that, and or use this for any other obstacle that you're facing today. And if I go back into what our youth pastor, his name is Coach Lawrence, and my church is New Mercies Christian Church. Go check out his his sermon. It was wonderful and powerful. His title was Our Response Matters. And it was powerful because it spoke about everything I had to deal with when I was laid off those 3 times in 4 years. Now, again, when I go back to the very first one in 2009 when I was laid off, the one great thing I can tell you that happened for me is I got a severance package. I think it should have been more and longer. When I hear people get a severance package for a year, it blows my mind, because my package was only a 3-month package. And I got the same package as someone who walked in the door working there for only 6 months. And I was there 18 years. I thought that was unfair, to be honest, for a lot of people who had worked so long in this company. And trust me, if someone had worked 20, 30 years more than I did, I thought they would have deserved a longer amount of for their package. So I was just thinking fair is fair. So I wasn't mad at the people for getting their package. I just thought mine and other people should have been based off of the number of years. Okay, so I digress. So I'll come back from that because that really was always one of the only problems I had with that package. But thankfully, I did get a package. I received a package and I had the opportunity to apply for some other positions in the company, which I did until the final day was going, because I was trying to get certain positions. And when I didn't get certain positions, I was probably going to end up in some other positions, but they were positions that I really didn't want. So I made a decision to move and leave that company. And when I did, I went straight into another job, which is a wonderful thing. So my income didn't lapse there. The only thing was my tenure at this one company and moving on into something new that was kind of scary. But I moved into a position in another company, and to leave a large company to go into small companies, it was different for me. And I must admit, everything was fine for a while, and then eventually I decided to just leave that job. But so when I decided to leave, though, I went into another company within about a year and a half later. And after that, leaving that job and going into another position that I enjoyed doing, I must admit. And in doing this job, I did it for like 2.5 years. Boom. I'm laid off again around 2013. 2013, being laid off, and get this, no package this time. No package, no nothing. So what do? I'm back in this position again, this time with no severance package. And get this, of course, as you know, since there was no job lined up this time, no insurance. So what do? And I have this little girl. So the good thing about that, she was on her dad's insurance, so I didn't have to worry about her. It was only me. But of course, we know insurance is important in this world because of how expensive it is. So what did I do? How did I navigate all of this? I promise you, Arlene had to sit back. The one thing I read some articles where they say you have to sit back, breathe, and reassess what's going on, what is happening. And as Coach Lawrence said in his sermon on Sunday, we have to sit back. We can't control what happens to us. We can't control how some things happen, and we can't control when they happen. But the one thing we can control is how we respond to what happens to us. And that's what I knew I had to do. Like he said, one other thing, no matter how well we plan life happens. Things happen that is out of our control. But the one thing for me that I always sat back in, and I knew from my divorce, from losing my mother, from dealing with the first layoff and how I went straight into another position and all, I always knew that God didn't bring me here to leave me. I stood on that. That's in my faith. I don't know what you are experiencing today or what your faith level is, or if you don't believe, don't let if someone in church hurt you make you not believe in God. Don't let people who have done you wrong, even if they're in the church, make you feel like you can't trust God. God is not like man. So the one thing I had to do, I relied on what I know he has always done for me. He's always taken care of me. All I had to do is have faith, not all, because trust me, it's not that easy. But I had to have faith. I had to stand on his word. And I had to do the parts that he gave me the power to do. And what did I do? I was on that job search every day, searching for positions, talking to the people I know, connecting with my network that is out there, that because I build, and I still to this day build great relationships with people. you bounce back and go to those networks of the people that you know. And if you have left any job or any position with a good standing, you can always go back and talk to those people because they know your work ethic, they know you as a person, and they will always vouch for you to someone else to say, I know this person will do and do a great job. And I do the same. I have a very small amount of people that I will do that for. I can like you as a person, but trust me, if your work ethics are not up to par, I am not recommending you to anyone. I'm sorry. Just because I need for my name to always know that I'm recommending people that I know would have some of those similar or better work ethics than I would have. So that is something very important. So I leveraged those networks of people that I knew from even that first job that was out there, because that first job, I must admit, has been the one job that has gotten me my name and my footings a lot of the doors because of the experience I brought from that company. And that's the one thing I'm thankful for today. I've always said on here, I've learned to count all obstacles. I've learned not to count all obstacles as a loss. So all of the knowledge and information I've gained from that first company, it has taken me a long way in other positions that I am in, even to this day. So that is one of the things that I had to do when I got laid off in 2013. And another thing I did, because again, I have at the time, she was a little girl, so I didn't want her life to feel like it changed. So everything that she was involved in, I continued. But what Arlene did do on the back end, Arlene was readjusting her budget. Arlene was reassessing everything. Arlene was looking at the things that were needs, a necessity, and needs, her needs only. I had to back out of Arlene once. I didn't want my daughter to feel like anything changed for her. So I wanted to make sure her life stayed as normal as possible. When you have children, it's hard, especially if you have more than one. And if you didn't have or don't have a 3 to 6 months, what they say, savings set up, it is hard. And the one good thing I can go back to with the first layoff is the extra money that I received, that severance package. And because I went straight into a job, I banked that severance package. I did not touch it. And because I wanted to make sure that I had something for a rainy day, because I always heard that you are supposed to have that 3 to 6 month income sitting there. God forbid these days come. Now, I was never looking for these days to come anymore, but they came. And so thankfully I did put that money to the side, as well as I was always, trying to put a little bit to the side here and there as I would go. And if you go back to my very first episode, I want you to hear, I wasn't someone at the time making a whole bunch of money where my bank account was sitting this plush bank account like some people may have. I had to do what I had to do with what I made. And I made sure, and I've always tried to live within my means and not try to live like anyone else. And kudos to anyone else who can live the way they live. Arlene lived the way she had to for herself and her family. And I'm thankful I did, because if you are out there trying to keep up with someone else, you're setting yourself up for trouble, and it can end in not the best way. So just be mindful of that. You are still who you are. No one is still no better, no bigger, just because their homes are bigger or they're driving these nice cars or carrying the top of the line purse, everyone, or clothing. You know what? The most important thing I'm glad I've always focused on is just being who I am, knowing who I am, loving who I am, and never making myself feel less than anyone else. That is more important than possessions. Trust me, because once you know who you are, I can walk next to you with my non-name brand shirt and you can have on the top of the line. And I promise you, internally, if the work on the internal side is good, no one is a match for you. So look, I know I'm getting off on that part, but that is what you have to do as well once you go through some of these layoffs, because sometimes there can be a sense of shame there. A sense of shame, like, why me? Why are you going to get rid of me? and then you have other people here working still. But for me, at least in my position, I knew it had nothing to do with me and my what I did on that job or anything. I wasn't fired, I was laid off. So I looked at it that way and pick up the pieces, and I kept it moving. On this podcast, we always say we have to move forward. Everything has to, you can't get stuck in a pity party. You can't start feeling sorry for yourself. Your response matters, as Coach Lawrence said in his sermon. It's how you handle it and how you respond to it that's going to make all the difference. So that second layoff, it sting a little bit. It sting a lot because, again, I liked the position and I liked what I was doing. And it did sting. It sting for a while, but Arlene kept it moving. And, of course, I went and applied for unemployment. And that's what I had to do in the meantime, just to make that, hey, I worked long enough, so why not get what was rightfully due to me? So I did all of that, kept searching for positions, and landed another position within, I'll say 4 to 5 months after that. The position was not bad, but it was a little too far from, in Atlanta. Let me tell you, everyone, if you drive in Atlanta, to go 15 minutes away from your home in the middle of traffic can turn into 30, sometimes 40 minutes if you're not careful. So this position put me pretty far out in the Georgia area, and I'm like, nah, I can't do this one for too long. And it was someone I used to work with. He was a vendor I worked with when I was at this other company. He was a vendor of ours, and I'm thankful to him to this day that we connected and was working with him and everything, and did the position for about 3 to 4 months. And then something else came up closer to home. I've always wanted to work closer to home, and got another position within 3 to 4 months. I probably said, I don't know if I should have done that, because when I did take that position, bam, I got laid off again within 6 months. Yeah, it's not funny, but yeah, you have to chuckle a little bit about it. Yes, I got laid off 6 months in that position. And when I got laid off again, this is my third layoff. If you are keeping up with this, that layoff again resulted in no package. And of course, 6 months, I wish it could have done like the first one where other people got a package, but I didn't get a package. But this time I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm back again, no insurance, no income coming in. So what do you do? I just started working the system the way I did it the first time. I put my trust back in God. I'm like, okay, Lord, here we are again. I know I did nothing wrong. You always said you didn't bring me and my daughter here to leave us. So let me put back in to practice what I've done before. I know you've done it before, so you can do it again. So I started praying. I started fasting. I put my faith in God and His Word. I reached out to my network. I also, applied for unemployment again. Here we go again, no insurance, and I applied for unemployment. And we all have to talk about this COBRA, because we know COBRA is too expensive. And I'm like, Lord, I cannot afford to put all my money into COBRA. So I had to sit for a minute, and it's just like, Lord, just keep me healthy, keep me strong. And, I have people who giving me all types of information where you can go, and if you needed to do this, do that. You have to leverage, again, the people who know how and what you need to do if you need to. And thankfully, I did not ever need to go to any doctors or hospital during this time. I also was in a place where, for some reason, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to pay this mortgage right away. I want to hold on a little bit because I don't know how long this is going to go. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what to do. Do I go ahead and keep paying my mortgage and drain my savings? Wasn't huge, everyone, but do I drain the savings I have, or what do I do? So I started calling my mortgage company just to see what options I had. And in 1 month, 2 months, it took 2.5 months with my mortgage company. And I promise you, everyone, I sat here and I'm like, Lord, I trust you. I trust you. After 2 months of going back and forth, sending paperwork to my mortgage company put me on a plan to pay, get this, $5 a month for 6 months. Yes, you heard that correctly. I was blessed at the time to pay $5 per month for a mortgage that was, trust me, nowhere near that for 6 months. When I tell you, you can't tell me that's not a God move, I don't know what else is. And I promise you, he does not come right away. Because trust me, like I said, I was going 2.5, almost 3 months wondering what to do. Did not want to go into any type of problems with my mortgage company. But I knew I wanted to hold that money a little bit longer than I was thinking for some reason, just to make sure I felt safe and making sure my home was going to be taken care of and I wouldn't run into any issues trying to just survive. When I tell you again, God is an amazing God. That's the one thing I can leave you here with this episode. He's amazing. You have to trust him. You have to put all your faith in him, not people. Put your faith in God, and he will never let you down. You have to do your part, though. I had to do my part. I had to still look for the job consistently. I would wake up every morning after my daughter would go to school, and my job was looking for a job. There were many mornings I would not turn my TV on. I did my own praise and worship because it was one song that I loved singing. I would play it from YouTube, and it was just like, it was my worship song. It was a very short clip of Marvin Winans singing, "I Need Thee." And trust me, I was much, much younger then. And it's like you go back to those songs that you heard your parents sing or you heard back when you were growing up. And I knew I needed God at that moment. It's nothing Arlene could have done more than what he gave me the power to do. Looking for the job, connecting with people, doing the things, cutting back on my budget, not overspending where at all possible. Not saying I was perfect, but I did cut back a lot. So I would do my worship and go to work. Do not turn the TV on because I know I needed an income coming in at the moment. And I must say, in all that time of the 3 layoffs, the one thing God was opening up to me are the things I loved doing again. I knew I wanted to. I went back to a bunch of writings after the divorce, and then writing the things that I love doing. As you see, I love talking. I love talking to people. I'm a lover of stories. I'm a lover of positivity. I'm someone who wants to see everyone win at life. My heart goes to women, though, because I'm a woman, and I know what I've gone through, and I know what it takes for a woman sometimes to thrive in this world and thrive within herself. So I knew there were so many more things I needed and wanted to do in this world that really made an impact. And yeah, my job is my job. This right here, what I'm doing today, I am passionate about. Now, my podcast, I always tell you, may change. And it may change because I'm learning more what I want to do and trying to find that piece that fit that puzzle just right. I love working with women in business. I feel like that's what's coming next. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I believe that it will have to do with something like that. It's going to deal a lot with women being bold in her move and how she moves and how she stands. And even if you are there today making $20,000 a year, you are still a bold woman. You just have to know it inside. It's the internal that we're going to bring out. And I promise you, ladies, if you do not give in and do not give up, you can win at this thing called life. First, deal with the inside. That outside is important, we know, but we have to deal with that inside so we can present to the world the best version that God has already told us we are. We just have to just bring her out. She's there. Trust me. When I was laid off those 3 times in the 4 to 5 years, oh yeah, I must admit, I did ask the question why. Why me, Lord? I didn't go into a deep pity party, but I did ask the question. And a lot of times I turned it around. That's why I love one of the scriptures in the Bible where God did ask, God, take this cup away from me. But then he turned it around and said, not thy will, but your will be done. I'm thankful that the times that I did ask why, I turned it around quickly. And I went back to doing the things I knew I had to do. And I went back to knowing I did nothing wrong. I went back to knowing I was one of the best employees a lot of these people had. It's their loss. I didn't lose. They lost. So I am thankful that I can have that attitude. I'm not saying I was perfect. And I'm not saying that I couldn't have worked on a lot of things. But I knew I was good at what I did and what I do to this day. So a lot of people... You have to just know, you just have to know that you know. So you today, if you are experiencing any type of loss, if it's a job loss, if it's the loss of a marriage, if it's the loss or of a loved one, sit back and breathe and sit there and try to assess what is happening. But you have to do it in reality. Sure, you may ask the question, why me? Or why did I have to lose my mother at 12 years old? Or why did I have to go through a divorce? Or why did I have to get laid off 3 times in 4 to 5 years? But you also have to sit back and say, okay, God didn't make a mistake, so I'm here to offer something to this world. So God, what is it that you're wanting me to offer to this world? We are all gifted in something. And if you don't know that you are, I'm here to tell you today, you are gifted in something God is giving you through the obstacle or the trials you're dealing with today. You have to look at it and find what's good that's going to come out of this. You have to know within yourself that first you're here to offer something good. And if you don't, again, I talk to some of the greatest therapists that are out there. If you need to contact me to say connect you to some of these therapists, please reach out to me. Because to deal with a lot of this stuff, you're going to have to first deal with the inside. And if you're not able to do that, okay, then get on your knees and pray to the one who created you to be who you were called to be on this earth today. You don't have to live in misery, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to believe men are listening. You never have to live in misery if you do the work. The work is there to help get you through whatever you're dealing with. I promise you there's a brighter side on the other side. God gets the glory in it all. I'm here as a living witness that he blessed me in so many ways. And everything is still not the way I would want it to be in my life, because I would have thought I would be much further than where I am to this day. But I can promise you I'm not where I used to be. There are a lot of great things that has been a plus in my life to this day. And I'm looking forward to the bigger things that's coming, because you know what? I believe and trust in the God I serve. And trust me, I don't want to go through anything else that's a loss or bad or, oh God, I don't like obstacles. I really don't. And what I always tell some friends, I know I'm going to have to kick that faith up another notch. I don't want to go through anything bad. None of us do. I am here to say, though, the God who has brought me through all of those things, he will bring me through anything else that I may have to face in the future. Continue to trust him. And again, what I said in the very beginning of this podcast, don't allow any human being that hurt you in the church take the place of who God is, because God is God. He is not human. He is not a God of confusion. He doesn't bring pain. He brings healing. He brings protection. He brings peace. He brings joy. He doesn't bring trouble to you that is not going to help you. And he will not bring a human being there to hurt you. So you have to know the difference yourself. And you have to know what you've chosen for yourself. And you're not perfect yourself. All you know now, if there's somebody there that hurt you, not to trust that person again. God gives us grace to make decisions for ourselves. And when some of the decisions we make may not be always the best, but we want to blame him, but we can't. We have to take ownership of some of the things that we do. So, Pathful listeners, for sake of time, I hope you take heed to everything I've said here. I hope this episode encourages you, motivates you, and to let you know that God is real and that God can provide like he said he can. And like it won't come always the way you expect it to come. But if you trust him, that he will take care of you like he's done up until the place where you are today. Always pull the positive out of every situation and just know that you're never alone. Trust me, I'm that one as a living witness. You're never alone. And if you feel like you need additional help, seek therapy. They're out there for a reason. And the most important thing is for you to move past and through this thing that could be very hard for some of you to move through. It is important because the world is waiting on you to give what you were placed here to give. And for some of you who don't think you need therapy and just looking for a life coach, consider reaching out to me. Let me walk beside you as a trusted partner to challenge and to encourage you to show up as your best. The answers are already within you. I'm riding with you to guide and keep you on track to see your goals to completion. Let me help you. I'll challenge you and help you discover that path forward because I'm a believer that we have to always keep moving forward. We cannot stay stagnant in this life. Let me help you be bold enough to believe in yourself, to let you know that purpose is bigger than obstacles. And let me help you know that obstacles sometimes show us the way to ourselves. Because trust me, there may be a book in you or a business that you knew that you were placed here to do, a podcast. There's someone out there waiting on you that to bring only what you can do to the world. Well, Pathful listeners, I hope I was able to help you, to motivate you, encourage you. If you've experienced anything in your life, such as some of the things I have, and they don't have to be the same things because a loss is a loss. It's just how you respond to it is what matters. And if you know someone that this episode can bless, please share it with them. We are all here for a purpose, and I want us all to win at life. Until next time, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms, so you can stay up on our bi-weekly real conversations with these bold women. You can follow The Path Podcast on Facebook at The Path Podcast and on Instagram and Twitter at The Path_podcast. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or have questions for a future show, you can email us at thepath4ward@gmail.com. That's thepathforward@gmail.com. And if you're looking for a speaker or you're in need of a life coach, please reach out to me. Again, at thepathforward@gmail.com or at ACKORLEH@gmail.com. Thank you. Until next time.